Hey guys, and welcome to a new series that I'm kind of starting up. I figured I'd try something a little bit different, and I've been kind of wanting to get into this for a while now. It's been a really long time since I've done any sort of competitive battling, and I figured why not just do it on Showdown, a very convenient site where you can just test out some competitive teams and have a good time. So what I basically did, I just went on a team builder, built up a nice simple UU team. And yeah, so I'm just going to go over this UU team and then I'll show you some clips and stuff of some battles I did. Some of them went great, some of them not so great. So I had a lot of fun with this team, really. I don't know, I picked some Pokemon that I really wanted to use, maybe some that I didn't use that often. I don't know. The two that I probably have used the most often in the past are probably the Blastoise and the Smeargle, two of my favorite Pokemon to use in competitive battling. Anyway, I started out this team because you always want to start when you're making a team with a core, at least like one or two Pokemon that you want to like form the team around. So the ones I started with were Blastoise and Smeargle, obviously, because they're the two that I use the most. But first I started with Blastoise, and I planned to first put a Blastoise Knight on it for the Mega Evolution, but then I decided, I'm not so sure about this because I knew I wanted to add Smeargle to the team and get these field hazards up, and then that had me thinking about field hazards. So I thought, I need to make sure I can like keep the field hazards off my side of the field. So I figured, maybe a normal Blastoise defensive with leftovers would be a better idea, so I could put Rapid Spin, Scald, Toxic, and then Roar on it. So when I first put Roar on it, though, I was thinking, why do I want to put Roar? I'm not so sure about that, but then I remembered that it is an amazing move. Not only if you have field hazards, so it gets both the Pokemon get hurt and affected by them even more, but it gets rid of crazy setups and stat changes, and you'll see in these battles that actually helped out a lot, just with the stat changes. And then you'll see in the stats here, I got the EVs and the HP and defense, and a little bit in special attack, just because I want that little boost. Not really much else of a place to put that those few 4 EVs. And then we got a defensive nature. I don't remember exactly what nature it is, but it's defensive. It's might actually be bold. Yeah, it's bold. Alright, cool. I actually guessed that right. So yeah, that's our Blastoise, and then he's pretty much the only one on the team, actually, who's inherently defensive, which might have been a bad idea, but as I said before, I kind of just had fun with this team, but I still tried to cover as many bases as I could. Anyway, we have Pastel here. I guess I'll just click to their page to make it easier to see everything. We have Pastel, the Smeargle. I did nickname the Blastoise Shades, by the way, of course. And then we have Pastel the Smeargle. I love using Smeargle just because it's great. It's probably, in my opinion, the best Pokemon for getting out field hazards, just because it's a normal type, which means its only weakness is fighting. And if you just like slap a Focus Sash on it, you can just spore everything, other than grass types or Pokemon with insomnia, which are very uncommon. You can just spore everything, get them to sleep, and then not only do they have a Pokemon to sleep, but you're just free to just Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, and usually I also put Spikes, but this time I decided I'd try using a different set and go with Explosion, just because I think trying to get all those layers of spikes is a little excessive and takes a lot more time and just wastes a bunch of turns, and as well, it's very annoying for the other player, so I didn't want to be that much of a dick. So instead I went with Explosion, because I already knew Explosion, even with all these EVs in its attack, isn't going to kill anything, but it would definitely take out a big chunk, and either way, once these field hazards, I was trying to think of that word, once these field hazards are out, and he has a Pokemon asleep, and if they're still asleep, there's really no point for Pastel to still be in the fight. At that point, he's just death fodder anyway, so I figured Explosion would be a good idea, just to get some huge damage in there. And then we have a bunch of EVs and speed, obviously, because it would be nice if he could outspeed, but if he doesn't, he still has the Focus Sash. Abilities just own Tempo, just because that's the most useful Technician. He's not attacking at all, and Moody's banned, actually. So, own Tempo is probably the best bet. And we get the stats of here, of course, and then the Jolly Nature again, so we can outspeed. even in the end, his speed isn't the highest. I mean, 273 is pretty good, but it's not anything crazy. But still, that's Spore. That's the deciding move. That's like the move of this team that pretty much like makes it work. Honestly, without Pastel, this team would fail every time. I'm not even lying. Anyway. Then we have Seinfeld, the Beedrill. I think I mentioned in a video in the Emerald series once before that I always name my Beedrill Seinfeld, and of course I named this one Seinfeld. And of course, if I'm going to bring a Beedrill into competitive battling, I have to go with the Beedrillite. This was after I did the core, and I was thinking, well, if I'm not doing Mega Blastoise, which Mega am I going to use? And I tried debating between... Well, my first thought was Mega Gardevoir, but then I realized Mega Gardevoir's an OU, not UU, so that's not going to be a possibility. So I tried looking through some of my other favorite Mega Evolutions in UU, and Beedrill was the first one that came up, and I was just like, whoa, well, this is a no-brainer. I love Mega Beedrill. And Beedrill was one of my favorite Pokemon before Mega Beedrill was even a thing, so... Yeah, I haven't even used Mega Beedrill that much either, so I figured it'd be a really fun experiment. Anyway, his normal ability is Sniper, which doesn't really matter, because we're gonna Mega Evolve right away anyway, but this is just kind of, I don't know, in case we don't Mega Evolve for some reason, which would never really happen. I don't know why it ever wouldn't Mega Evolve. Anyways, moves, pretty standard. We got U-Turn, of course, because it's really nice having that Switch Initiative, and with his ability, Adaptability, when he Mega Evolves, that really powers up that move, which is normally only about 70 power, makes it insane. And then we have Poison Jab again with the Adaptability, makes this move crazy good, and it has a 30% chance to poison, so I figured this would be a very good decision. And we have Knockoff, which is just an amazing move in general, and on something like Mega Beedrill, a Knockoff could very well just one-shot a Ghost type, which would just be very nice. Anyway, we kind of have plenty of defense against Ghost types, so that's not really the reason I put the Knockoff there. I really just had it there just so we could get rid of those items, and the fact that Knockoff is just an amazing move in 6th gen. And we have Protect, just because Mega Beedrill is probably one of the, if not the frailest Pokemon, besides Shedinja in the entire game. So, yeah, we want to have Protect there just so we can scout out to make sure they don't have any move that's just going to wreck our life in the face. So, yeah, so that way we can know if we need to go for U-turn the next turn, or maybe even just go for a hard switch if they actually outspeed. So yeah, that's Mega Beedrill. I had a lot of fun making that. Oh wait, did I go over stats? Yeah, he has a EV's in attack, EV's in speed, of course, pretty basic, and then special defense, just because his HP is already way too low to really just boost that up. Normally you throw all the extra in HP, but it wouldn't really make a difference. And then special defense, just because that's his lowest defensive stat, or no, his highest defensive stat, just so we can get some boost from there. I don't know, it doesn't really matter where you put this tiny little boost in Beedrill's sake, because no matter where you put it, it's not going to make too much of a difference. And then he has the plus speed, minus special attack, Jolly Nature, just because we really wanted that speed. That's like the most important thing with Beedrill. You could invest more in attack, but his attack's already insanely high once he Mega Evolves, so speed is definitely the more important stat, because speed is always just one of the most important stats when you're dealing with most mods. And actually, I think with his speed, once he Mega Evolved, I noticed at one point it was like over 400, which is pretty good. I don't know. And then we got Chandelure, the Lumiere. This is a Pokemon that I used to use, like maybe 3 years ago, but nowadays I have not used this thing in forever, and I think when I used to use it, I used a Life Orb set, so using this Choice Scarf set was really new to me, but I was going to have a lot of fun with it. Anyway, it's got the Choice Scarf just because this thing's speed isn't the best speed stat in the world, but it really helps to get the Choice Scarf on there so we can make sure that we can pretty much outspeed anything, especially once we get the Sticky Web down with Pastel. It definitely helps out, not only for Lumiere, but for the entire team. The Choice Scarf definitely takes advantage of that. And then we have the Flash Fire, just in case we can switch into any fire attacks if we're out with Seinfeld, which I thought was a very good plan to have, just because fire moves on Seinfeld are going to be a very common thing, because those would easily take it out. But to be honest, pretty much any move would easily take Seinfeld out, unless maybe he resists it. And then we have Flame Body. I figured that would be pointless, just because we don't really want Lumiere taking any physical hits anyway, because defenses aren't that great in either front really, but his defense didn't get the tiny boost, I guess, so well, they're pretty much the same still. So just, we didn't want this thing to be tanking hits, so Flame Body is just a bad idea. An infiltrator could infiltrate, reflect, light screen, safeguard, and mist. I'm pretty sure this does the same thing. Oh yeah, it ignores substitutes, which is the most important thing. But I did have one point where substitute infiltrating with infiltrator would have been pretty nice, and you'll see that in one of the fights. But I figured, you know, even then, even after that situation, I'd still prefer having the flash fire, just because it offers us an immunity on this team that we don't actually have a lot of immunities on. I'm pretty sure we only have 2 other immunities with Honchkrow and Nidoking, with electric and ground, which normally you want to get more immunities, or as many immunities as you can get, just because those cover a lot of bases, and we didn't have any fire immunities, especially, and which would definitely come in handy, of course, with Seinfeld, so I figured flash fire was definitely the best bet. And then we have Fire Blast, which is obviously just a very good move to have on Chandelure. His name's Lumiere, by the way, Beauty and the Beast reference. And then we have a Shadow Ball, which is obviously another very good move to have on Chandelure. And then we have an Energy Ball, which this move, honestly, is probably the move that came in handy the most, and it's just so good for coverage, because, I don't know, there's going to be some points where you switch in on water types, with this thing, even though it's a fire type, and you're gonna outspeed just because most water types aren't that fast, even because they're more bulky. And then you can even one-shot most water types with this. Like, Chandelure is not to be reckoned with in terms of special attack. That's 145 special attack, and UU, that's one of the highest special attack values. When I was looking for a special attacker, I legitimately just looked down the list and tried to find the highest special attack values. And some of the values that were higher were Hoopa, who is 150, but I didn't want to use Hoopa because I'd be really uncomfortable using it, because I've never even seen a Hoopa be used before, so that'd be very, I don't know, I feel like that'd be taking a risk, because I wouldn't know what to do or what to put on it. And then we put Trick on it, which I never ended up using. It was just there, just in case I didn't need the Choice Scarf. And that's just, what that basically does is switch items with the target. And there was only one situation where I saw that maybe help in, but it was against a Mega, so you can't actually use Trick against Megas, which kind of sucks, but, you know, it is what it is. And then after that, we have Honchkrow, and this is definitely something that was new to me. These last 2 Pokemon I have never really used, period. I know they're very good in their tier, UU, but I've just never used them before, and it was very fun to use them in these battles. And also, if you'll notice, I actually forgot to nickname these 2, which kind of let me down, but whatever. I guess that's fine. And then I got the Life Orb on the Honchkrow. That's something you can typically put on a Honchkrow, and plus we have the Roost in our moveset, so if that ended up taking too much life, we could have healed back up, because we do have Brave Bird too, which is going to take a lot of recoil to our HP, but I actually never really ended up using Roost, I guess, just because I kind of just had a YOLO strat with this entire team the whole time, just sort of going in, trying to get everything killed as fast as possible, which is what most of these Pokemon are made to do, like Honchkrow, Lumiere, and Seinfeld. They're made to just sweep, and actually Nidoking did some sweeping as well, as you'll see. It's very, very impressive. And then we got the ability Moxie, of course, which any Pokemon who's meant to sweep. Moxie is a beautiful ability, because every time you kill a Pokemon, it gets your attack back. And combined with Superpower, this is a very good strat, because it actually raises your attack back to neutral if you're able to kill the Pokemon with the Superpower. It's actually very useful, of course. And then to finish off the moveset, we got Sucker Punch, which is just a really nice priority move. Sucker Punch is like one of my favorite moves. It's also one of the most jerkish moves, to be honest, but it comes in handy a lot, and especially on something like Honchkrow. And I could have used Pursuit instead of Superpower or Roost, but I figured the Sucker Punch, even though it's probably going to fail half the time, is just a better alternative. And I really wanted the healing, the Superpower for coverage, because fighting types, actually, to be honest, fighting types don't really threaten my team at all. I guess I just put Superpower on a bunch of stuff, because you'll see on the Nidoking I actually put Superpower as well. But it would just really, I don't know. Oh, wait, I don't know what I'm talking about fighting types. I have the fighting type moves for rock types, which would definitely be hurtful for Seinfeld, and for steel types, which some are not going to be able to get KO'd by Lumiere if they're like steel rock or whatever, and those are pretty common in UU, I think. Alright, so yeah, that's Honchkrow. Its stats are 252 EVs in attack and 252 in speed. Even though he's not that fast, I figured I want that speed in there just because of the Life Orb. We want him to be able to sweep. We got the next 4 EVs the last 4 EVs and special defense. And then of course an adamant nature because we're using a physical Honchkrow. I think a special Honchkrow is also a thing, or at least maybe a mixed Honchkrow, because his special attack is really low compared to his physical. But I feel like I remember seeing like Heat Wave Honchkrow before in certain videos and other fights. So yeah, probably I could have gone with a mixed Honchkrow, but I figured, you know, just full on physical. Our team ended up being extremely physically based with Seinfeld, Nidoking. Actually, no, never mind. I completely forgot that Nidoking is more of a special attacker, believe it or not. I actually went with the special attacking route because even though its base physical attack is higher than its special attack, it actually gets a much better special attacking move pool. And since its special attack is so close to its attack, you're actually able to just use EVs to get that special attack a lot higher. And then of course we get put the rest in speed because another life orb user, just like Honchkrow. And yeah. And then we got the naive nature to raise that speed even higher. I just wanted this thing to be able to sweep just as much as Honchkrow, because you'll see in these like suggested spreads, even like because Showdown really loves to show you some suggested spreads if you don't know what exactly to use. I didn't use most of these, but some of them did come in handy. And of course we got a special scarf which is made to sweep. We got a Honchkrow who's literally a bulky physical sweeper, and we have Nidoking, who's a fast special sweeper. So I really wanted to be able to sweep, especially with this Beedrill, who's also a fast physical sweeper. So that's definitely what I concentrated on when making this team. Not so much on bulk, because we only have shades for bulk, but definitely wanted to get a sweeping team in. And then we got Sheer Force, which is beautiful on Nidoking, because look at these moves. We got Sludge Wave, a 10% chance to poison. Instead of being able to poison, we won't be able to poison with this move, but we will do even more power with it. And I just now realized it won't be able to poison. There was a point in one of the fights where I was trying to poison with it, so I probably should have realized that sooner. But still, it did power up these moves, so I am happy with Sheer Force, even if we don't get the chance to poison, or freeze, or lower special defense by 1. Which is a big deal, because this move can do crazy amounts of damage. Yeah, all of these moves can, except for Superpower, because that doesn't have an effect that's gone because of Sheer Force. You still lose your attack and defense, but it's just very good for coverage, even though it's physical. Its physical attack is pretty high, and we're going to be good to just throw that in there. And we got Ice Beam, which is an obvious choice because we don't have anything for the dragons in this set. Because we don't even have any fairy type moves, which I thought was very weird once I ended up finishing this team, because normally fairy type is the type you definitely want to have. But I ended up just ignoring it, and then we have Earth Power, Sludge Wave, and yeah, they're basically all just really good for the Sheer Force ability. And of course, I forgot to nickname it, and we already went over its stats. So yeah, this is the team. I actually had a lot of fun fighting with this. It was just definitely, I don't know, I just really had a good time with this team. It was just, it went a lot better than I thought, but there was still, I think, at least a couple fights where I got pretty destroyed. I don't know if I got destroyed is the right word, but we definitely had a tough time at certain points in one of the fights. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut back to the actual fights, and I'll see you guys there, where I'll do some post-commentary on how those fights went. So, see you guys then. Alright guys, so this is the first fight that we're gonna be getting ready to see, and boom. Okay, so looking at this guy's team here, I can already say that this guy's definitely gonna have Stealth Rocks. He's got the Infernape and the crap, I forgot its name, the big mammoth. Oh man, Mamoswine. He's got the Mamoswine and the Infernape. He's definitely gonna have Stealth Rocks on his team, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try to set up my own. I go out to Pastel. I of course go for the Spore. He goes for close combat, which would normally obviously kill me, but I live on the Sash. And then he switches out again to his Aggron, so now I just gotta basically get all my rocks and webs out there just so I can get as much done with Pastel as I could. So at this point, he's got the attack boost, so I figure, you know what, the best decision here has got to be going out to my Shades. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to get Roar to be... I wanted to use Roar for the reason I actually put it on him, so I could get rid of that stat boost and maybe just sort of affect the rest of his team with those rocks. What happened was he actually paralyzed me, which really sucked for the rest of this fight because it definitely slowed down Shades and didn't let him get all those roars out like I wanted it to. But I did end up poisoning the Luke, or the Goodra, so that's definitely going to whittle him down. I switched to the Nidoking because he started using Thunderbolt. And that Dragometer could have killed me, but I actually lived it on 20%, and then was able to get him down with the Ice Beam, even though he's super especially bulky. which definitely helped me out take some of the core of his team. But of course, he still got Fluffy, the Snorlax, who's definitely very super, or especially bulky, and defensively bulky, and the superpower obviously wasn't enough to take it out, so there goes the Nidoking. Anyway, I go out to Honchkrow because he also has superpower, and I figured he'd be able to clean up, and obviously enough, he did, and there's where that Moxie Boost came in handy, like I said earlier. Raised our attack right up back to neutral. And of course, there's basically nothing my Honchkrow can do to this Aggron, even to this Mega Aggron no less. Even the superpower is just not going to do anything against this thing. It's got Filter and it's only Steel type, so all I can do is switch back out to Shades. Well, actually, no, never mind. I went for superpower. I saw that wrong. And yeah, I guess at this point I'm basically just YOLOing with Honchkrow. My attack's lowering, my defense is lowering. There's no way Honchkrow is going to keep surviving this fight. And it's basically death fodder at this point, honestly, because I didn't really think I need the Honchkrow particularly for anything else. So I switch in Shades, and I'm gotta roar this thing out, honestly. I just have to, because this thing's stats are too crazy right now. But of course, I get paralyzed, and then finally get the roar out. So then we got Wukong, the Infernape out here. So now I'm just going to try to scald this thing to death, because I definitely want this thing out, because if it sits up rocks now, I might not be able to have enough time to rapid spin them out. But instead, he switches back out to his Mega Aggron, and of course I get paralyzed when I could have killed it with a Scald. And then he kills me with he almost kills me with the Heavy Slam, but I live on 1 and then Scald him, which definitely worked out in my favor. And then of course we got Manny the Mammoth 1 right now, and of course he's gonna outspeed and kill me with the Icicle Crash, really any move. So I figured I'd just let Shades go, because I don't really need him at this point anymore, to be honest, because I know for a fact Lumiere can take care of the Infernape just fine, especially if it's asleep, and then Seinfeld can just clean up if it gets that far. But I was trying to decide at that point what move I wanted to use, either Fire Blast or Energy Ball, but I decided on Energy Ball just because, I don't know, it has more accuracy and it'd be more dependable, especially with this thing being asleep. I have plenty of time to just sit here and whittle it down as long as it doesn't wake up, and unfortunately it never does. So it gives me the opportunity to just keep spamming, I completely forgot the Energy Ball. It just lets me keep spamming and spamming that. Well, this part of the battle kind of sucked. I wanted to still show this battle on it because it kind of showed how my team worked out and how I ended up using it throughout most of these battles. But unfortunately for this battle, this guy decided to just AFK, and I'm assuming just wait for me to forfeit, which happens a lot on Showdown. It's unfortunate, and it's kind of a jerkish thing to do. Maybe he was busy, I don't know, but whatever. And basically, I already know I would have definitely won this fight, because even if I can't kill this glutton Rhea-Nicholas with Energy Ball, which I assume I could, it would just take a bit, and I'm not sure what this Rhea-Nicholas would be able to do back that would kill me too quickly. But even if that happened, I'd definitely be able to outspeed with my Mega Beedrill, unless he had Trick Room, which honestly I feel like he still definitely could have won if he had the Trick Room, but I guess he didn't. I guess he decided he didn't want to mess with that. I mean, maybe he didn't think I was choiced, even though I kept going for Energy Ball over and over. But yeah, I'm basically just going to cut ahead because this kind of gets a little excessive, and I don't want you guys to just sit here for this, like, I don't know how long he just sat here, but I don't want to just sit here and have you guys go through that, so I'm just going to skip ahead to where we started the next fight. Alright, so now we're starting getting ready for the second fight, and let me see the team again. I don't exactly remember what the fight was like until I see the team, and there we go. That's what the team's looking like. And I was very excited for this fight because he definitely has a pretty unique team with Swallow and Honchkrow, and a Vaporeon and a Jolteon, which I definitely thought was very different. Not anything I would have ever expected. But he didn't have a grass type, so I know I'm just free to spore anything that comes in. And fortunately, I get to spore the Swallow, which definitely helped out because Swallow can definitely do a lot of work, especially if it gets poisoned with that guts. And anyway, I got all my field hazards out there before the Vaporeon finally scalded me, which definitely helps. Also, the Vaporeon's name is Mero, so I got a friend who I talked to on Skype who actually has that same name, so that's actually pretty funny. Anyway, switch out to Shades because I know he can take pretty much any hit from this Vaporeon, and of course we can Toxicate, which would definitely help out. He's not going to need to Roar because, of course, that would only hurt in this situation, to be honest. Because I want this thing to take as much poison damage as possible. But of course, he gets so lucky in the first Scald on my Shades that he actually gets the burn. So there's really nothing my Shades can do here because I feel like I'm going to get whittled down before I can whittle down him, because his Scald's going to do a lot more to me than my Scald would do to him. Because Vaporeon's actually very bulky. So I actually take the risk and switch out to Lumiere, figuring maybe he won't Scald, and maybe I can get the Energy Ball off. But he actually switched out to Tentacruel, which means I need to switch back out to Shades, so I can just try to burn this thing, because that's pretty much my only strategy here. I didn't want to switch out to Nidoking right out of the way on a hard switch, just because I knew that Nidoking is actually weak to water, of course, and I didn't want to have to take a Scald from this thing. I'm only assuming that I also had Scald. But it also tries to Toxic Spike me, which I still don't understand why he went for Toxic Spikes. I still wanted the Rapid to spin them out, but I had 2 Poison types in my team that I could have used to get rid of them, and a Flying type that's not going to get hit by them, and Lumiere is the only one who can get poisoned, and I don't think Lumiere would even mind to be poisoned. So I don't know why I prioritized getting those out of there, but I did. Anyway, we Ice Beamed that Swallow out of here, so that definitely helps. It being asleep definitely played a part in that, because it definitely would have outsped. And then we this is where Nidoking just goes for a huge sweep. I was so proud of Nidoking right here, it was insane. We just kept going and going, and I assumed that he was going to switch out to his Honchkrow, so I went for the Ice Beam there, but that was actually a bad decision, because I could have either Sludge Waved or Earth Powered and done a lot more damage to this Vaporeon, but in the end I think I decided to just stay in and go for a Sludge Wave, just because that's going to do the most damage to this thing. And he goes for a Wish, which again, I don't really understand that move, because the only other Pokemon on his team who could appreciate that Wish is the Tentacruel, and Tentacruel's going to get bodied by my Nidoking. But instead he goes to his Honchkrow, who, of course, gets bodied by the Ice Beam, so Nidoking definitely put in so much work here, just sweeping for this fight, and then he actually forfeited, because, man, I don't blame him after a sweep like that. But anyway, we're in the next fight already, and this one looks, this one looked terrifying to me at the beginning. I saw that Whimsicott, and I thought, oh god, Whimsicott's terrifying, just because of its prankster ability, but he starts out with a Combuskin, which is definitely very weird. And I don't know why I fell for this, I should have known that he would switch to his Whimsicott, but I completely forgot he had that Grass type, and then he encored me in the Spore, which definitely sucks, so Pastel's really just did not work out here. And like I said before, Pastel's like the root of this team, and without him, it just doesn't work. And you'll kind of see that in this fight, because I just have so much trouble this entire time, just because Pastel couldn't get those those stage hazards up. Anyway, this thing's substituting and leech seeding, so there's nothing I can do with Nidoking here. I'm gonna try to go out to Seinfeld, see if he can't do anything different to try to get this thing out of here with a Poison Jab, because this thing is quad weak to poison. I know for a fact a Poison Jab or a Sludge Wave from either Nidoking or Beedrill would one-shot this thing, but I just can't get the opportunity to do it. So I end up having to U-turn back out into Nidoking, and in this situation, this thing's dead. If he doesn't switch out, it's guaranteed to die. I knew this for a fact. He can't substitute, because that's just going to waste his time. He can't Leech Seed, because then he'll die. So there's not really much else I can do. I figured, okay, this thing's going to die. But then it goes for Memento, which I could have put that move on my Lumiere, but I didn't see any point in using it, just because that kind of wastes the Pokemon, and I don't want to use Lumiere's Death Fodder. So that was kind of interesting, but then anyway, he switched to his Slurpuff, which again, I don't really understand, because I kind of destroyed that thing pretty easily with Sludge Wave and Earth Power. The reason I went for Earth Power, not Sludge Wave, is because I figured he was going to switch into his Empoleon, because it's immune to poison, and try to predict us, but never actually did. But, so this thing was terrifying. I hit it with the superpower thinking it would just KO it, because Absol was very frail, but it actually didn't, and he lived Swords Dance, which was terrifying. So I figured, okay, I can go in with Seinfeld. He has Sucker Punch, so I need to be careful. So I go for Protect, just making sure what he's going to do. Maybe he's going to switch out because he's scared of the Bug type. But I know that if he goes for Sucker Punch, that is going to kill. But at the same time, this is my only option right now to try to get rid of this thing, because I don't even think a superpower from like a superpower from Honchkrow, I don't even know what that's going to do, because he could still Sucker Punch Honchkrow, and that's still going to do a lot of damage because of that Swords Dance. Anyway, I go to Pastel, maybe he can redeem himself here. I thought, oh, maybe it could work, but then I completely forgot. Mega Absol has Magic Bounce, which makes me fall asleep, and if I tried to go for the stage hazards, it would have put them on my side of the field, so that was just a terrible idea altogether. So I try going for the superpower, thinking, okay, maybe I can take care of this thing. He has Play Rough, okay? This thing has Play Rough. There was nothing I could do against this Mega Absol. My entire team gets destroyed. So then I tried to Roar, and of course Magic bounces that back too, so I just end up switching to Lumiere, who would get destroyed by Absol with a knockoff. And this is basically where everything just goes horribly. I cannot do anything against this Mega Absol. He ends up going for a move that I didn't. Well, actually, no, he ended up not going for Sucker Punch, which I don't know why. But obviously, he still wins this because even this Energy Ball can't do anything against this Empoleon. I think a Fire Blast even would have done more, just because it's Water Steel and it wouldn't resist the fire. So yeah. That battle didn't go too well, but that was because we couldn't set up with the Smeargle, and I figured that I don't want to end this video on that, so I went for one last fight. Of course, we see another Infernape, put it to sleep, get our stage hazards up, and really Infernape opening was perfect for us, because, I don't know, we could take, because it's the perfect Pokemon to just take hits from with our Sash and then just set up on. And of course we also went for the Explosion there, just because there's nothing really else I could do. So I figured Explosion was the best thing to just do there so we can get this thing rolling. Anyway, I go to Shades, of course, because I want to get these rocks out of my field, because my team is actually very sensitive to rocks. I mean, we have Beedrill, who's weak to the Stealth Rocks, and Lumiere is weak to the rocks, and Honchkrow is weak to the rocks, so unfortunately I probably should have gone for the Rapid Spin when the Infernape was there, just so I could get these rocks up here. But even though the Infernape might have still just put the rocks back up. But anyway, this Heracross is destroying my team right now. It just swept right through Honchkrow. Its Moxie's attack boost is getting even higher. I need to take this thing out, and unfortunately the Sludge Wave is enough. Speed was low enough because of the Sticky Whip that my Greninja can get outspeed, and then he goes out to Crocodile, which is perfect for me because I can just Ice Beam it. And I guess he thought I was predicting the Earthquake, I would switch, and then he pursued me, but instead I went for the Ice Beam. And now he's got the Swampert in here. Mega Swampert is definitely a huge threat, and I didn't want to switch out to my Lumiere because I figured he might go for the ground type move and Lumiere would just get destroyed by that, but instead he goes for a Rain Dance, so switching out to Lumiere here would have been a much better play. But this is one of those times where I said I kept going for Sludge Wave thinking it would poison, but we do have Sheer Force, so actually that wouldn't have never happened. But fortunately it still whittled him down a very good bit, even though Great Energy Ball would have killed him no matter what. So yeah. And then we go into Me and Xiao. Oh boy, Me and Xiao is definitely scary. Stealth Rock my Beedrill right away, so there's nothing my Beedrill will do, but I had to switch out so I could get out of Energy Ball and go back into using Fire Blast, because we needed Fire Blast for this Lucario. Because this Lucario definitely would have killed us otherwise if we were locked into Energy Ball. Unfortunately, I was able to switch out, go in there with the Fire Blast, and just sweep that Lucario out here in one shot. So yeah, those were the fights. I had a lot of fun with this team, like I said earlier. It was just a really good UU team to get me right back into competitive battling. And I gotta say, I used to do a lot of OU battling and X and Y, but nowadays I'm thinking I might be more of a UU kind of guy. This was definitely a lot more fun, in my opinion. And in UU you get a lot more Pokemon that are really interesting to use and just more fun to use, other than OU where every single Pokemon pretty much can have the same sort of strategy just because they all have the same sort of stat layouts, and I don't know. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this, and of course I love using Smeargle. And while Smeargle can do work in OU, in my opinion, it's just, I don't know, in UU it seems to work even better. So yeah, those were these fights. I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching these. I had a lot of fun playing them. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys again in this sort of series, maybe. I'm not sure. I just kind of wanted to get a video like this out there just because I love competitive battling and it's a ton of fun. And yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing any more team building and stuff like this later. Maybe I'll start doing the random battles on here because those can be great. It can end up like sweeping with Love Disc and stuff. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, that was this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.